All right, I've gotten several questions about this assignment, so we're going to start off by looking at problem 15, which says that f of x equals the negative cube root of 2x, and we've been asked to find its inverse. So to do that, I'm going to first rewrite this equation as y equals the negative third root of 2x. And then remember to find the inverse, we switch the x and y. So this equation becomes x equals the negative third root of 2y. Now, the first thing I need to do to find my inverse is get rid of that negative that's in front of my cube root. I'm going to do that by dividing by -1 on both sides of the equation. That will give me that negative x equals the positive now third root of 2y. Now, I can't touch anything that's inside of that root until the root's gone, which means now I need to get rid of the third root. I can do that by raising it to the third power. And if I do it to one side, I do it to the other side. So this problem becomes negative x to the third power equals 2y. Please notice how my negative x is in parentheses before I raised it to the third power. I have to have those parentheses there to show that that third power applies to both the x and the negative. Now I'm ready to get the y alone. So I'm going to divide on both sides by 2, which will give me that negative x to the third power over 2 equals y. The y is now alone, so I know then that my inverse function is negative x to the third power over 2. Now, for my domain and range, I'm going to think about what the graph of this looks like. I know it's a third power function, and if you graph this on Desmos, you'll see that the third power function is going to look something like this, coming down because it's negative. Now, if I look at that graph, my domain, my x values are my x values going from left to right. Heading to the left, notice how this graph goes forever to the left. So my domain's going to go from negative infinity to, heading off to the right, again, the graph is going to keep going right forever, so positive infinity. For my range, that's my y values, heading down, well, this graph is going to keep going down forever, so it goes to negative infinity, and heading up, it's going to keep going up forever as well. So positive infinity. Last question, is this a function? Well, remember, to be a function, I need to be able to draw straight up and down lines and only hit that graph once, which I can do. So I can say that yes, this is a function. The next one I'd like to talk about is number 21. Go ahead and look at problem 21. Once again, I'm going to rewrite this as y equals x squared. Now think about, how can I undo a second power? Well, to get rid of a power, I use a root. So I'm just going to go ahead and square root both sides of this equation. Oh, I forgot to switch the x and y, didn't I? Let's go ahead and do that first. I apologize. So instead, I'm first going to write this as x equals y squared. I'm so sorry. Now I can go ahead and square root both sides. And that will give me that the square root of x equals y. Y is now alone, which means that this is my inverse function. Last but not least, I'd like to talk about number 24. So again, I'm going to write it as y equals -5 plus the square root of x. To find an inverse function, my first step is to switch the x and y. So this becomes x equals -5 plus the square root of y. Now I want that square root alone, so I'm going to add the 5 over to the other side. That gives me that x plus 5 equals the square root of y. Now I have a square root, and remember, to get rid of a square root, we're going to raise it to the second power. So I'm going to take both sides of this equation to the second power, and that will give me that x plus 5 to the second power equals y. Now, If you want to take your x plus 5 and multiply it out, you can do that. Remember to do that. We write it out twice. X plus 5 times x plus 5, and we distribute. X times x is x squared. X times 5 is 5x. 5 times x is 5x. And 5 times 5 is 25. If I combine my like terms, I'll get x squared plus 10x plus 25 equals y. Now, when we're looking for inverses, I will accept the answer either in this simplified form or multiplied out. I will actually take the answer in either form. So if you got either of these two, they are acceptable. Thank you so much for watching.